When I was a child, I didn't have a home, I didn't have a family, I didn't have a sense of belonging in the world. And I think that for many, many years I was looking for that sense of belonging. And one of the ways I think that you discover where you belong is looking inward to yourself, but also it's looking out at other people. And I think then, as a displaced child and as a child who sort of doesn't have a particularly easy time, you learn to read other people very, very quickly. And that becomes a sort of a fascinating science to you. And that's what writing is all about, really. Looking at other people, working out where they come from, why they're saying, what their subtext is, what their real motives are. Seeing the games that people play. And I think that as a displaced child, you learn to do that as a sort of a self-defense. We came back from South Africa and we were completely broke and living in a 2-up, 2-down council house in Derby. And I got a letter from my dad, and he said, "You've always been good at letter writing. Here's a competition. Write a play and win 2,000 quid. I thought, oh, I'll go for that, because I was into competitions at the time. And I wrote my first play. I borrowed a typewriter. I scrounged up some paper of a sort, and I wrote my first play. I was 39 when I started, yeah. Which then seemed like old, but now, from the great age that I am now, looking back, I'm just a baby. My first play was written for the Richard Burton Drama Award, and when it got through to the final 5, they put on a few moments, I think about 3 minutes of each play, down at the other place in Stratford-on-Avon, and they had professional actors from the Royal Shakespeare Company to do it, and I think it did about 7 minutes of mine, which should have given me the hint really that I'd won, but it didn't give me that hint at all. And when we went down there, we parked up and we were looking around for this theatre, and I'd only been to the theatre once before when we got free tickets. I'm not at all a lovey. And we saw this big sort of shed thing, which was the other place, the Royal Shakespeare Company, other place for new writers. We thought, this can't be a theatre, this is ridiculous. So we decided to go for a little walk and find the theatre. And as we walked past the other place, which was the theatre, we saw a rack of clothes outside, and on the clothes there were labels. One was Charlie, one was Doug, one was Winnie. And I realised with a real sort of sense of shock and excitement, these were my characters and they were going to exist. That the people who hadn't existed a few weeks before now existed in everybody's minds, and they were going to be wearing clothes and they were going to be standing on a stage and they were going to have their feet on God's good earth, And that was really, really exciting. My dad was in the army. He was a Royal Inniskilling Fusilier. He was in for 26 years, and we travelled around the world with him. So I'm an army brat. My elder brother Martin joined the army. My second brother Peter, he joined the Navy. And so when I came out of school, I was chucked out of home really by my stepmother. I joined the army, so I'm a real army brat through and through. It wasn't a piece of advice, but it was just a bit of reassurance really. When we were doing peak practice, so we'd just done Soldier Soldier. I was a brand new writer. We had a meeting, a big meeting, our first meeting. Kevin Waitley was there. It was the first time I'd met Kevin. And I'd seen him in Morse and whatnot, so I was quite nervous of this actor. And Amanda Burton was there, and she'd been in Brookie. And I was a brand new writer, and I was very nervous. And I was standing outside the door of the meeting, trying to pluck up enough courage to go in. And Tim Whitby came up to me, and because I left school at 16, I'm completely unschooled. He came up to me and he put his arm around me and he said, "I hope you realise nobody in that room would be there if it wasn't for you." And I thought, wow, that's right. And far be it from me to say that writers are godlike, but then you realise that, yeah, it all begins with the writer, and that gave me confidence, really. There's just something pure about radio, and there's something pure about the spoken word, without all the paraphernalia of directors and tracks and lighting and all the rest of it. I think radio is a fantastic place to start, but what I would say to young writers is listen to radio. There's some marvellous plays on radio, really, really good. It's like poetry. It gets you into that distillation of the word. What can I convey by this line? I think making a happy writer is not taking yourself too seriously, but taking your work very seriously. Understanding that directors and producers are often wrong, but so are you. Being ready to go to however many drafts is required, welcoming criticism, that's really a hard lesson. I think as a new writer, you want everybody to understand that you've got this gift, and you know, this line is really, really important. But I think you have to understand that criticism is valuable. You need criticism. You know, you look at some of the great writers that we've had in the sort of recent past, who have ended up directing and writing their own stuff and producing their own stuff, and it always suffers. You know, you need a fresh pair of eyes on it. And I think, you know, to be a happy writer, you have to realise that if somebody comes to you and says, I have a problem with this scene, there probably is a problem with the scene. It may not be what they think it is, but if it's not conveying, if it's not communicating, then there is something wrong with the scene. Frasier, the whole of Frasier, beginning to end. Sopranos. I don't know, West Wing, House of Cards, Suits. I don't know what the third one would be. You'd have to surprise me with that one.